Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. At least it's morning here in Colorado, right, Holly?
Yes, it is.
It's a beautiful morning here in Colorado.
It is. It's a beautiful morning.
All right. So heads up, everybody out there that's dealing with or what they think is infertility issues, or they have some sort of unexplained infertility issues. There might be another perspective for you to consider. So hello, everybody. My name is Liz Garcia. I am the host of the Mind, Body, Spirit Network YouTube channel and podcast, soon to be. We're going to launch that podcast very soon there, Holly. So
woohoo! All right.
We're going nationwide, and if we can blast it out there to the Far East or wherever, China, we'll do that too.
Great.
So anyway, I want to welcome a certified medical medium, or also known as a medical intuitive, who is also a licensed acupuncturist, to the show today, because she specializes in situations dealing with infertility. And I think that she'd be very helpful if you're going through any type of suffering or blame and shame and just wanting to be pregnant or have a child, that a different perspective could help lighten that load. Wouldn't you think?
Yes, yes, yeah.
All right. So let's get started, and this is going to be included in the blog that you wrote. So I think we should really kind of go through what you're saying about infertility, and it really is a mind, body, spirit thing, not just body. Right?
Yeah. So I think that it's important in situations with primary infertility, secondary infertility, unexplained infertility, where we're not just looking at the physical body, which is what we tend to do with Western medicine and even with Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine actually has a broader view, but we're really focusing on the physical body. And as an intuitive, when I was doing acupuncture and I was seeing people for infertility, when I would be working with them, I would often pick up that there was more going on than just what was happening physically. And particularly for unexplained infertility, this is something that is common, where there's just no Western medical explanation. Often unexplained infertility responds very well to Chinese medicine because there is explanation from a Chinese medical point of view, but often there's also things going on the soul level, where I'm picking up the spirit of the baby, and there's things happening there. So I think it's important to address the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels of what's happening with infertility.
So when people come to you for acupuncture for this particular condition, you're seeing more than just the physical. And what is like the primary, is there a common thread in all of it? Or, what's going on that needs to be addressed that people are not seeing because they're too distraught and they can't see?
Yeah. So I think first there's two things that I would like to talk about to answer your question. One is the emotional side of things, and the other is the spiritual side of things. I think that many women that I see going through infertility, it's a very emotional journey. The attachment to wanting to be pregnant, to feeling like they should be pregnant, not understanding why they're not pregnant, this creates an emotional roller coaster. It can be a very isolating journey, and addressing that emotional piece is important because the emotions are intimately tied to the human body. It's important to work with those emotions, to open up to those emotions, and to let them be there, but also to recognize them, to acknowledge them. They really want acknowledgement. Those emotions want acknowledgement.
So are you suggesting that people need to allow those emotions to come to the surface and kind of purge them?
I wouldn't call it a purging. I would call it making friends with the emotion, making friends with the emotions. And there are some ways to do that. I think yoga and meditation can be some of the best ways to make friends with the emotions. Let me take a moment to define making friends with your emotions, because that's kind of a different concept. So what I mean by that is I use an anagram called ANA, A-N-A. So that's acknowledge, name, and allow. So when you're having these emotions, you want to acknowledge that that emotion is there. If you name the emotion, it kind of puts it outside of yourself so that it's not just running amok in your mind or in your heart. And then you allow it to be there. Practices like yoga and meditation can be really helpful in allowing emotions to be there. So we don't have to react. We can just let that emotion be there.
Yeah. And sometimes it'll just run its course and run its way out.
Always.
I have found, right?
Always it runs its course and runs its ways out. It's way out. I liken it to waves on the shore. They come up, they recede. That's always emotion. I think we've all had experiences where we're very angry one moment and 3 minutes later we're laughing and we're okay with everything.
Right.
No emotion is
how ridiculous it is. It's like,
yeah. And so if we can wait it out, if we can be with it, but we're not suppressing it, we're allowing it to be there. We're feeling it fully. We're opening to it.
And you're not expressing it onto somebody else either.
Right. We're not taking it out on others.
Right. We don't want to do that.
There's also some great apps now that have really lovely guided meditation and relaxation, which can be really helpful for women who are dealing with infertility and really feeling like they're on the emotional roller coaster and need a break, need someone to sort of guide them through, maybe a 20-minute relaxation so they can kind of come back into their body, feel their body.
So
those would be my suggestions.
Okay. Are you seeing that emotions are interfering with the process?
Well, it's really hard to diagnose that. It's really hard to know. Sometimes yes, sometimes you kind of can, but I think that it's subtle. It's more subtle than that. Okay. In Chinese medicine, the heart has an intimate relationship with the uterus, and the emotion of the heart is joy. And so feeling joy in everyday life is really important for everybody. But particularly for the relationship of the blood flow to the uterus, the health of the hormones that are produced by and interacting with the uterus. And so I often encourage women to lighten up, to have some fun, to do something fun for themselves, to not take it all so seriously. We can, as a culture, we take ourselves so seriously, myself included. And so if we can let go of that just for a few minutes, that can create some health in the heart and consequently in the uterus.
Yes. So let's just get to your mediumship on the topic, because I think a lot of people are, because it's so alternative. And when I first heard you tell me about this, I'm like, holy moly, that's a huge insight to have, especially if you're considering investing in infertility treatments and in vitro stuff that could, it's like Russian roulette for a lot of money, right?
It is expensive, and unfortunately the success rates are not very high. However, I often recommend infertility treatments for people. Sometimes when I'm doing an intuitive reading for people, that's exactly what they need to be doing. That's the help that they need. And so it's lovely that we have a lot of choice here, and it's important to remember that. And so often that is what people need. And
well, that's good to know.
But sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's not needed.
Okay.
So let's look at the soul perspective of things, which I find to be really interesting, and it really opens a door onto the world beyond this world, the unseen world, and that's one of my favorite places to go. I think it's really cool. And
it is cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to just chime in on a very quick story, because, some people may question that this exists, but, I'm a little bit of a mystic, an unwitting one. And I had an unborn child. I was sitting with my friend in her dining room. She's going to tell me she was pregnant. I'm like, I already knew it. Just, I guess, had a sense and no big deal. And then I said to her, do you care if you have a boy or a girl? And she goes, I'm thinking a boy. And I'm like, and then I felt like someone tapping on my shoulder. You tell her I'm a girl. Like,
right.
Amazing experience I had. And I have other similar stories that there is spirit is going on outside of us, paying attention to what's going on. So now I like to hear what you say.
And often to just speak to that. I often, when I read for women with infertility, they often already know, like I will say, I feel a son, and they'll say, yes, I feel a son too. I feel like, we do have this, we are all intuitive. We are all psychic. It's a skill. It's how often you use it. And so, I agree. I think we all had experiences like that of just having this knowing of it's a girl, or I feel this baby girl. So
all right, so let's hear what you see.
Yeah. So
all right, this is so cool.
Yeah. So there's a couple of common scenarios that I'd like to talk about in reference to what's going on with the souls, and what can cause a soul to not come forward. So one of the things that I see commonly is the baby soul, or the soul baby is having fear around taking on another life. I think, we've all had pain and suffering. Life is difficult. That doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of joy, but life can be hard. I think that we would all not wish the suffering that we have endured on anybody else.
Right.
So what I see for some souls is that they have had pain and tragedy in their past lives, and so they're having fear around the challenges of a new life, and that can keep them from coming in. I've also seen that as reasons for miscarriage.
Oh.
Where a soul will come in and say, okay, I'm going to do it, and then get partway through and then say, you know what, I just can't do it. These are often...
So that's another good point to bring up, that people go through suffering with miscarriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Is that, would you say that's always the case?
No, okay. Not always the case. There's never an always.
Okay.
Never always. But this is just sometimes, sometimes there's lots of reasons for miscarriage, but this is just one of the common themes that I've seen with miscarriage, especially miscarriage where everything is going well. Pregnancy, mom, everybody's healthy. No, can't really explain why the miscarriage happened.
Right.
And so, but it's much more complicated that's definitely not the always.
Okay.
So
that's good to know. That's a possibility. So that
and that's one scenario that I see. And, and I really should qualify all of this by saying that no two people are the same. No two people's issues are the same. And so every reading that I do is different. Every person that I've treated with Chinese medicine is different. And so these are just some kind of overviews. There's some sort of generalities and commonalities. And so just so folks know that. Now,
I don't know if I can share some of the stories that, if I just say generally what the issue was. Are you okay with that you've shared? So,
you mean some examples?
Yeah. Or would you rather not? It's up to you.
I don't know.
Well, I think we could speak in generalities, because it's just a general issue. Like,
so
someone really wants to get pregnant, and you're seeing that she's not going to get pregnant for a while.
Right? Yeah.
You would see something like that.
Yes. So I would see, sometimes I see that baby's going to take more time. So this is another scenario that I see, is that on the other side, there are structures in place that kind of like here, it's kind of like school, or, there's spaces for learning and growing and sort of reflecting on past lives and doing work. And sometimes that takes longer. Sometimes it takes longer for the soul to complete what they're wanting to complete, or the soul to finish. Or I've even seen souls, I saw this one very interesting case more recently, where this little soul baby was right there, ready to come in. And then I did another reading with her, and it was like, wow, he's far away again. And he had chosen to take on something new. He had kind of turned things around. And what it felt like to me was that other souls had reached out to him and asked him for his help. And he said yes. And so he stayed on the other side for a while. And then
that's really interesting.
And then came through. And and he's here now, though. She's pregnant now. So
oh, nice.
Yes. So he just had to do a little bit of stuff, and then he was here.
Now I assume you could probably get messages from a baby that's in uterus, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Often I see kind of personality traits. I did a reading recently where I just saw this, it seemed like a little girl, but it had a lot of boyish energy, but I could just tell she is going to be a handful in a cute way, but she is going to be busy and into everything and like wanting to race dirt bikes at the age of 6. Like she's just, a lot of, kind of a lot of aggressive energy.
Little daredevil.
But it's interesting because the woman that I was reading for is like, oh my God, that's just like her dad. That's her dad. And so it's, there's.
Yeah. Now, how about people that they keep trying to get pregnant, but they're not here to have a kid?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I think you said it in your heart of hearts,
These are difficult readings for me because, I really wish that my readings were always rainbows and roses. I wish that everything that I was saying was all good things and you're going to win the lottery and,
You don't want to win the lottery of children.
And yeah.
That's what you wish for.
I have seen that. I have seen where some women were meant to give in other ways other than having children. And what I see with that is that we have free will. You can change that. So perhaps when you are creating your soul contract, your life contract before you come down to Earth School, you say, I don't want kids. I'm not going to do kids this time. But then you get down here and you say, you know what, I really want kids. You can change that. We have free will.
Oh, so that can change.
But I do see women who are not meant to be parents, that they're meant to be giving in other ways, that they're meant to be helping and healing and serving in other ways. And a lot of that also has to do with when you have a child, everything becomes about that child. You no longer have your own life.
Yeah.
And most people are good with that. But what I see for some women and parents is that it's more important, a better use of their energy would be to be more introspective and working with themselves, which is not fun. It's not fun. And in our society, we don't really honor that or respect that. Society plays a huge piece in this. Why don't you have kids? How come you don't have kids?
So I have a quick question. So could someone kind of go ahead and have a kid, even though in their heart of hearts, that isn't what they wanted? They're just kind of playing into what they think they should do. Is that a scenario?
That's another scenario altogether that happens where people don't want kids, but they're pregnant.
Right. Have you read anybody on that?
Yes, I actually did a reading recently. Late in life and completely unexpected.
Yeah.
But I saw such beauty. And I saw this little girl giving her parents so much. It actually brings tears to my eyes to think about all that this little girl was going to give to her parents who did not plan on having kids.
Even both of them. They both weren't planning on it.
Both were not planning. Both are later in life. This is
the lottery for them.
But
they just don't know it yet.
Yeah. And so, there's all kinds of scenarios. I think what we are getting into now is this truth, this universal truth that we don't have control, that we are co-creative, that we can affect change in our lives, that we can grow and move forward, but we are not in control, that we are working with a higher power that is in working co-creatively with us, and that we are, a lot of times it is about surrender.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I've never felt, I felt on occasion that I wish I had had kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's only like when I'm around my nieces and nephews and I love them. It's like,
yeah.
And then I'm like, I can just love them.
Right.
Sign me up for that.
And I think that's a really valid, we need more, what's the word for that? Secondary parents, like aunts and uncles type.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, more people raising kids,
Right.
more help.
Like how you love your grandparents. I have a grandmother, and, you know, I just adored her to no end. And
right. Yeah. And so she was like a surrogate parent, and we need more of that.
Okay. So I do want to, I'm going to wrap back around to this mediumship gift of yours, because that's so important.
Thank you.
But I love you were bringing up in Chinese medicine that the age of 28 is that's the time to be picking the peaches.
Well,
right?
You know, it's, it is.
I always say I'm ripe for the picking right now.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm ripe for the picking.
And it's true. 28 that's the time, around that time. And so in Chinese medicine, women age in 7-year cycles. Men age in 8-year cycles. So, so they get a little extra. But yeah, so we age in 7-year cycles, which you can kind of see. So 7 years old, you're your own person. 14 is puberty. 21, you're an adult. 28, it's time to.
Oh, okay.
And 28 is also Saturn return. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Saturn return, that means that Saturn takes, I think it's 28 and a quarter or 29 and a quarter, about 20. Anyway, it takes about that amount of time to go around the sun. So Saturn goes back into your birth chart. When you're 28, Saturn goes back into your astrological chart at the same place that it was when you're born. And Saturn is
that true for 56 too?
Yes. So you have Saturn return.
Every 28 years. Okay.
Every 28 years. Yeah.
Cool.
So Saturn return it can be an intense time, but Saturn rules things of permanence. And so often in the late 20s, people are getting married, they're buying homes, and they're having kids. And so in Chinese medicine, that fourth cycle at 28 is when your qi and your blood are most full. They're
right for the picking.
You are the ripest. Exactly.
Nice.
And unfortunately, one of the things that's difficult is that once you reach 35, that qi and blood begins to wane, which can contribute to some of the more explained infertility, the lack of qi and blood, an imbalance of flow. So,
is there some way to kind of keep that qi activated?
Absolutely. Taking good care of yourself. You got to take good care of yourself. So eat well, get plenty of rest, plenty of exercise. Don't sweat the small stuff. Have fun in life. You know, those are all the things that you can do to keep your qi and blood really healthy.
All right. I'm going to lob one out. Yeah. How about if you change your mind about how old you can be to have a kid?
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I see. So, and I'm so glad that you said that, because one of the really common things, and I wanted to make sure that I said this today, one of the really common things that I see is that most women that I read for have so much more time than they think they do. And part of that is we're so used to controlling everything. We're so used to, I want to be a CPA. And so I go to school and then I pass these tests and now I'm a CPA. We're so used to being able to attain the things that we want. I want this kind of car. And so when it's time to get pregnant, it's this, you're forced to let go. You're forced into this place of co-creativity. So a lot of women I see, they get fixated. They feel like I have to have it right now. And what I see so commonly is that there is so much more time. In fact, I just did a reading, I think it was last week, where this woman is in her early 40s, and I saw that she had 4 full more years. She will be, I think, in her mid to late 40s, and she's still ripe.
So you're seeing that the body is still a good round.
Yeah, so these are generalities. The Chinese medicine, having ripe for the picking at 20, these are generalities. And, even though this is how our physical body kind of grows, we live in a different time now. And we live in a time when really getting pregnant at 28 is kind of on the early side. A lot of women are in their 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s, because again, you're wanting to buy a house, which takes a lot of time. You're wanting to have some things in place before you get the kids going. And
so we can just shift our consciousness on it and move it all up 7 more years. So like, 35, let's do 35.
Well, I don't know. Again, we're co-creative. Again, I think that I do believe in the power of positive thinking. And I do believe that we can, but I also think that there can be pitfalls with that. And I think that if you are, I think that it's also important to respect the natural rhythm of things. We can't change nature, and our bodies are of nature. Our bodies are not separate from nature. And so this is an interesting topic. We could keep talking. I mean, medical science is doing this now. Medical science is, we are beginning to shift things, but there is still this natural rhythm of things. And so, but all of that being said, again, what I see for most women that I read for is they have so much more time than they think they do, which is good news. And so again, it goes back to letting go, having fun, take a break for a while, enjoy life, and bring that joy into your heart, which then brings the joy into your uterus. So
nice. I actually had I'd call it a metaphysical experience. I have to call it that. Where I experienced joy in my uterus, like it exploded into me, like energetically. I felt what it was like to find out you were pregnant at a higher level. Even though I wasn't pregnant, I was given the gift of feeling joy bursting there. And the love is so huge of spirit, you can't contain yourself. Yeah. And so you're birthing, and I think that this is a symbolic birth. You're birthing your gift. You're birthing your gift in being a healer, in helping all of us healers spread our word. Oh. And so, this is, I think that's really beautiful. It was a metaphysical insemination, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I would call it, but it felt like, holy moly, this is what it feels like to, like, what it made me think is like, if all of us were aware the level of love that exists when someone chooses you as a parent, for example, if you knew that love that's being planted in you, you would be dumbfounded by it. It's that magnificent. I wholeheartedly agree. Yes. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that energy of love is sacred. And I hope that I'm ready to call it killer, but that's kind of an oxymoron. Yeah. I hope that all of us experience that. That's pretty phenomenal. Whether it's through children or just everyday life. Yeah. I hope that all of us experience that. That's all right. So we're going to wrap it up and bring it around. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here today, Holly, is because going through that whole artificial insemination and fertility treatments, I feel like it would be a good idea, if you're so inclined, to speak to someone like you first. Yeah. Or what do you think about that? Because, it could save you. I mean, if you can help confirm, yes, that's a good idea. That would be nice. Yeah. And if you see that it ain't going to happen, I don't know how you tell somebody that and have them necessarily believe it. But I think that when we hear truth, that we'll get it. Like, we'll either believe it or not. If it's true, you'll feel it. You feel it in your heart. You feel it in your heart. And what I would say to that, Liz, is I would encourage people to listen to their own inner voice. I think if you're watching this and you're resonating with what I'm saying and you feel drawn to having a reading with me, then there's probably some information for you there. Yeah. But somebody else may be watching this and saying, not so much. And I want to go through with the IUI that my OBGYN recommended. And I would say, go for it. Yeah. Listen to your own gut. Exactly. Listen to your own inner voice. That will guide you. That will tell you. That's a great point, because I feel like I know that we are really living matrix, all of us. Yeah. Yeah. And there's more going on than meets the eye all the time. It's not black and white. Mm-hmm. And definitely, if you don't feel like talking to someone like Holly is right for you, then you're right. It is, because there's other things going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. And I'm not right for everybody.
No. And people that do connect with you, there's still other things going on that you may realize during a conversation with you. Like I've had healers that I've worked with that were doing one thing, but it's something that they said was more important. And I had to hear what they said.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
So that's how we connect at many levels. And it could be just like, I just got to look at Holly in the eye, laugh for a second, and then we're done. We're moving on.
Yeah. Well, and I think, again, you're speaking to this unseen, this surrender, because, when I give a reading, I'm hopeful that I'm giving the information, but it's not me. It's the unseen. And so that's what you're speaking to, is that surrender.
Yeah.
To the unseen. And that's how we connect to it, is our inner voice, our gut feeling.
Yeah.
Guides us.
Cool. Holly, I love you.
Liz, I love you. Thank you.
My pleasure. And we're going to have links to how to connect with Holly further below this video. Whether you're watching it on YouTube, a podcast, wherever it is, all over the God's green earth. Connect with Holly however you like. Holly, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll have more conversations on the next interesting topic that comes up.
I look forward to it.
And that could be a relationship one.
Yeah.
All right.
Good one.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Come back.